8 times a week for a year, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God.
If a prop falls, if a thing falls, it happens, it's theater.
When you're drinking water, you can't breathe. I have to make the decision every night, like, do I want water or do I want breath?
Years ago,
Yeah.
You're doing an act with your pal, with one of your partners, comedy partners,
Yeah.
writers, at the Duplex, like late night slot. I don't know if it was like a residency, if you're doing, what were you doing? What did I see
I think
10 years ago?
I would do a monthly solo sketch show every month, and I would write a whole new hour every month as sort of a challenge to myself.
I told Benj Pasek, would you mind connecting us? And at the time, I'm like shooting Glee. I don't know in what world there was something where we would intersect, but part of me just wanted to somehow be in your life.
Well, now we're a block away from each other.
I know, living
on Broadway.
our Broadway dreams, baby.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that is not lost on me. This is why this is a
Yeah.
very big deal for me personally,
Yeah.
because I have so relished these past few years of seeing you pop up in things, which has been very validating to my excitement about not like I had any sort of control over it, but it was nice to know, like, I'm not the only person who is taken with your special thing. But I remember being in absolute hysterics and just thinking you were so unique and special. And it really made an impression on me. And I'm so glad that Benj took me to that show. I'm forever grateful. And like I said, now getting to sit here with you is
I know.
kind of a beautiful, emotional moment.
You wrecked me the other night. Not in that way, guys. Come on.
I was waiting for you to finish that sentence.
I went to see Maybe Happy Ending, the matinee, before I had to then do 2 shows, and I was just crying baby. I was a crying baby. And then I walked a whole 1 block up to the Lyceum
You're
Theater.
right there. We rehearsed right down the street from you, and so you had moved into Broadway because I saw you off Broadway, as you remember, at the Lucille Hotel. I was making this piece as you guys were loading in, and I remember thinking, I'm so thrilled and curious by this move, because I go, okay, like I hang out with a certain type of fun weirdo in New York City, like, oh, Mary's one of ours, you know, Cole's getting their flowers, this is a great moment, this is something that we all agree, of course, that we love, and many mutual friends of ours. It's made in a lab for people that really subscribe to that kind of humor and aesthetic.
Thanks.
And I was like, I don't know if it'll take to Broadway. Not in a pessimistic way, just in an honest to
in a
God,
little bit of a
curious way.
pessimistic way.
Well, how did you
You've
feel?
always had it out for me, Darren. You always have.
Okay, I'll just
You've got that list.
I'll say it to you as straight as I can. Why are you on Broadway? Why did you come to Broadway?
I know,
what were
I
you
know.
thinking?
I know.
But truly,
know.
I mean, when you were such a massive hit off Broadway, there had to have been a degree of...
Oh yeah, we're so scared that we were like gonna like get too big for our britches.
Well,
We're
what turned the
still
tide?
terrified.
What was the kind of... Were you saying, I really want to do this? Were producers saying, no, this has been so...
Well, when they asked, I was like,
gods.
well, why would I say no?
Because you are the master and commander of this ship, do you find Mary moving in places that you feel like, I'm going to do this now, or have you?
No, because there's a cast of other people, and I have to keep it the same for us. And we found the best version of the
Very noble of
story.
you.
Well, yeah, very noble. But we found the best version of the story, and so I just want to keep that as tight as possible. When I talked to Titus Burgess and Betty Gilpin about playing Mary, Titus was like, you have to write in more water breaks. Like, why didn't you? There's no time in the show to pee. There's no time. Like, I can grab a sip of water when I'm off stage, but for the most part, it's like...
Isn't she drinking on stage? Couldn't you just put some water in there?
I can't drink.
recall.
Well, there's
Well, I
even...
guess the bit is we're trying to get her not to drink.
Exactly. But there's even there is a bit at the end where I do get to drink a little bit of water, but when you're drinking water, you can't breathe. I have to make the decision every night. Thank you. I have to make the decision every night, like, do I want water or do I want breath? Like, I have to, sometimes I'm pretending to drink the water, acting.
To get, yes.
And then sometimes I choose water over breath, and then I'm...
A memoir.
Water Over Breath. Water Over Breath, a new play.
The follow-up. Back to the 10 years ago, after I saw you, I remember scouring the internet for any content that I could find. So a lot of your early YouTube videos, and this is
pre-porn and
all that stuff. This is the dark ages.
Yeah.
This is pretty short form content.
Yeah.
I remember I just rewatched, I think it's Straight Boys Pissing on a
Straight Boy Pissing all over a toilet seat. One of my early
seminal works. Now, this is a short YouTube video that
click the link below.
Yeah, here, subscribe now. Smash that like button for Escola. But there's this is the kind of thing that like TikTok or even when Vine was out, these are things that would have been a short form bit, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But because this is before a lot of this kind of short form wacky content was being made, that's what you were doing then. And so what it made me think about was you were saying that you were doing a solo thing at Duplex. And a lot of these videos, it's the joke is that you're playing a lot of the things kind of on your own.
Yeah.
It looks like you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
So my two questions about Oh Mary, and I'm sure you've been asked this one a lot. One, why Mary Todd Lincoln? That's the one I'm sure you're used to answering. And two, why a more sort of linear play? Like if you have, in this day and age where we have everything, we have our phones, you can make this a series on your phone, you've done stuff in television, like there are plenty of places you could have kind of shopped this, so to speak. Was it always gonna be a play?
Yeah.
And why was it not a solo piece? You were just saying how you had to accommodate for other actors.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, that's very good of you, but you have been a solo act for so long, so why this linear play theater thing of all the mediums?
I just thought it would be the framing of a like a play in quotes, like a capital P play made, like the more serious it looks, sort of visually and tonally, the funnier it would be.
I would agree. It is very funny.
I hoped, and I do still hope. I guess I just had the idea, what if Abe Lincoln's assassination, sorry, using full names, what if Abraham Lincoln's assassination wasn't such a bad thing for Mary Todd Lincoln?
Right.
And then I just wanted to prove to myself that I could write for other people and that I could write something that other people would want to be in, I hoped. I really thought, like, we're gonna have a hard time getting people to say yes to this.
So when did this sort of cross into the, at least in the off-Broadway sense? Because a lot of stuff that I see that I would categorize as sort of like fringe comedy theater. Had Mary ever been a character that had kind of been around?
The character of Mary is sort of an amalgamation of a lot of characters that I've done for a long time, and sort of a version of myself that I've played since birth. So I didn't want it to get lost in a development process. And because I had written a lot of things that sort of like died in development.
Yeah. No,
and
yeah.
So I was just like, I just want to get this one thing over the finish line, and then I'll never write anything again. I'll never perform again. I promise I'll leave everyone alone if you just get me this like one thing over the finish line, please.
When were you writing this? Was this during the pandemic?
I wrote it in 2020, yeah. Wow. But I had the idea in 2009. But it was one of those things where I was so afraid that once I got it on paper, it wouldn't be as good as what I had in my head.
I think that's a healthy sort of thing that every artist
to avoid it for 12 years.
Well, just that sort of disconnect between. You have the
because I've written things where once it got on paper, it was not as good as I had it in my head. Or
was this as good as you had in your head?
It's the first thing that's ever matched what I had in my mind.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's only because of the other people involved, like Sam Pinkleton, the director, and all of the
That's gotta be a wild
and
thing when you sort of surrender this thing that's so deeply personal to the inner workings of your brain to these outside entities. So how did Sam get involved?
Sam Pinkleton choreographed this musical that I did at Dixon Place like 12, maybe 15 years ago. It was a musical called The Material World. It was about Madonna mentoring Britney Spears and the Russian Revolution.
Naturally.
It was written by Dan Fishback, who's brilliant. Anyway, we met briefly there, and then all these years later, we just had a conversation about the play, and he got all of the Ann Miller references that I was making, and made his own, and
Great.
it was just, he's like the other half of my brain. Yeah.
You're lucky.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
lucky to have somebody
Yeah.
like the midwives, as I
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
call
yeah,
them, to these
yeah.
ideas we have. It's like that those stars don't always align, and
Yeah.
they are the difference between them, closing that gap you're talking about of
Yeah.
like being pleased with the idea that you have.
Did you go to school?
I did
Theater
once.
school?
I did one day.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. Were you in Fiddler? Who were you in Fiddler on the Roof? I did Fiddler.
Obviously, I was Mendel, the rabbi's son. And it's funny because the man who directed it, his name was Dana Brown. He was the theater teacher at this school that I went to, and he made a huge impression on me because he was like one of those teachers that everyone was like, he's really hard, but he's really good. And it was, so he had this like reputation that's like,
Of course. Everybody
okay,
should have one of those.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
their
yeah.
life,
Like everyone was afraid of Dana Brown.
Right.
And he had this thing where if you weren't, you had to face the audience. You had to you couldn't, if he saw your profile at all during rehearsal, he would stop. And he did this to me on my first day of rehearsal.
How old are you?
I was 15.
Wow.
And he was like, "Stop! Who paid to see the show?" And I was like, "Oh, the audience." He's like, "Take it again." And then I did it again, and I guess I turned too far. Like I was like, "Okay, I'll say 3/4." And he was like, "Stop! Who paid to see the goddamn show?" And I was like, right. So he was like that type of
Hard but good.
He was really hard, but he was
hard,
really
hard but
good.
good. See, I got him
really
too.
good. But he
Left a real
also
impression.
he had these weird rules like if you died in the show, you didn't bow at curtain call.
We don't want to
because
break.
it was like
we don't
breaking the
wanna break,
magic.
Yeah.
And but weirdly, those things have sort of informed what I like, how I want to protect the
That got me.
audience,
That's
right?
very funny.
It's like the Wicked Witch of the. I remember the first play
She's
I saw
dead.
there. She's dead. She doesn't get a bow. Sorry, sweetheart.
Oh no.
That's the price you pay.
Yeah.
But I think that has ingrained in me a sense of like protecting the audience, like the surprise, like making sure that the show is for the audience completely. And so like there's even been moments where I've been doing Oh Mary, and when you do something over and over again, sometimes you like bits grow, or like I don't know, the moments grow and you're not feeling them, you know?
I always say theater pieces are living organisms.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
They mutate, they evolve, things happen, and the alchemy that sort of yields that is so beyond your control. It's like the audience, the weather, the day, what's going on in the news.
Yeah, but then if you indulge too much the acting, then it can take away from the story, which takes away from the gift to the audience. And so sometimes I feel like I just have to like hit the notes.
I hope this has given you that confidence you were looking for when you said you wanted to prove this to yourself.
Yes.
Because if this hasn't, I don't know what to fucking tell you.
Well, it's funny you say that because my sort of midlife crisis started before this play. Early onset midlife crisis, by the way. I'm far too young for a real midlife crisis. But and then during the break, it fully came back. It's not gone. This play has not solved any personal problems for me at all.
There's just another mountain.
There's just no, it's the same mountain, but
it's just you just realized that you thought the
like,
top was actually.
You know what? I'm sure Broadway will cure my midlife crisis.
Okay, so speaking of welcoming to the stage,
Yeah.
you also have a unique situation where I don't get to watch my show.
Yeah.
Other than
Yeah.
a put in with the understudies, which
Yeah.
is one of the first and only times I've gotten to watch our show. You, because you've passed this role to other people, have now. When Betty Gilpin went in, was this the first time you ever watched the show?
Yeah, that was the first time I ever watched the show.
What was that like?
It was surreal in that it was not surreal at all. I was just like, I'm watching a show. Sam, the director, was very nervous because, he wants to do the writer proud, and he was like, let me know any thoughts you have, any notes. Like I have my things, but I went to the show and I was like, what a lovely play.
Good.
Loved it. Then I
That's
just
great.
went home and that was it.
Did she talk about playing the notes? This is
Yeah.
why I love the theater and why I love standards, I always equate them
Yeah.
to each other because like the notes can be the same, but the infinite amount of nuance and variation and pace and temperament and velocity and attack, it's so much. The deck of cards combination is infinite, that it is always interesting to me to see great performers do great roles, because they're always going to bring their thing to it. So would you find things that you never thought about, or that you're like, oh my God, that was...
Yeah, the best part about seeing them in the show was that they really loved it, and that they really loved playing this part. And as someone who like grew up begging their friends to like, please be in my little movie, like, will you like, can we make a movie, can we like do a little skit, like, and then, you know, doing solo work for however many years, just thinking like, oh, like, I don't want to bother people and ask them to like, oh, I can't make them rehearse with me, like, I'll just have him read it from off stage. Actors who I've admired for so long take a part that I wrote and find things in it and love it as much, if not more, than I did, was maybe the most validating thing that I, as an artist.
It's like having children. And I could say that before I even had children myself. That is the closest art, you know, making a thing and entrusting it and hoping the best for it is, I mean, they are the same. You are bearing a part of yourself unto the world, and you wish it the best, and you try and give it all the resources and support you can. But at the end of the day, there's really only so much you can do. And so handing it off to other people, I've done this as a songwriter, I've done this in other things that I've made. Relinquishing that control is scary, but when you have that pride of other people getting to do their thing, I mean, it's very, 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 very similar.
And they both, Betty Gilpin and Titus Burgess, brought like, they got to show things that they don't normally get to show. And they relished that opportunity. And like, that feels so good to me to like have any part of that, like giving them that opportunity to show things they have never gotten to show before.
It is funnier when you have a capital P play, and then the dichotomy of that sort of like seriousness with the absolute silliness of what you're doing serves the comedy in the way that like those go together. And I like how, especially in musicals, this is hard to do, and I can say this because I didn't write our show. I love how the music feels like the feeling, and the sentiment feels like the aesthetic, and the set moves like the characters.
I noticed that about
everything kind of feels like it's all part of one seamless entity, and I give full credit to Michael Arden for accomplishing this.
But the music, like all of the songs, I was noticing that they moved the story and deepened the characters. Like they revealed something that couldn't have been revealed in a book scene, and I was really like, I just admired that a lot.
It's why I like doing the show 8 times a week. It's always, it's just like to get to give these people. Also, you and I are in original things.
Yes.
So nobody comes in with any, they're not encumbered by expectation or comparison. There's this true,
well, the
like,
people that know Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yes.
Some of her friends have come to see the show. No one's coming in being like, I thought this was historically accurate.
Let's talk about the fancy, shiny people that have come see our shows.
Sure.
I heard famously Steven Spielberg came to your show.
Yeah, he and Tony Kushner and Sally Field and Tony's a brilliant husband. Yeah. Mark Harris, they all came, and it was so sweet. I was so nervous beforehand that, you know, because they had done Lincoln, the movie, that they would be a little, not offended, but like, that's in poor taste, or just like, they might have precious feelings towards these people, but they totally were fine.
They were game.
Yeah, they were game.
I heard Steven said that they made the wrong movie.
Yeah. Steven said, like, we made the wrong movie.
It made the rounds.
No.
Steven also came to our show.
Okay.
Just yesterday.
Oh my God.
And it's hard not to be totally starstruck by this, because it's one thing to have somebody of renown that you admire and respect, and also who's so part of the very fabric of like entertainment culture. But he specifically has such an inspiration to our writers and the sort of nexus of this piece specifically. So having him there was really extraordinary. And
did you feel good about the show?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, what's nice about, I've said this a million times about the show, is that I think the play is the thing. The play is the thing. The play is the thing. The play,
I know. We know that, but you know when you come off.
The play is so strong that any degree of like good or bad or weird I feel about the show is so eclipsed.
But don't you hate that?
I know. Well, actors are delusional. We set arbitrary goalposts for things that you want. Like, it's only good if I do this or this, and then it's delusional.
No, even right now, this is our day off. I feel upset about how my show went yesterday, and I'm just like,
really?
Get me back in
Get
the
out
show.
Of there. I know.
So I can
to
wash
redo
the
it so you
taste.
can reset. Yeah.
I got to rinse this taste out of my mouth from the Sunday show where I felt like I was. I don't know what I felt, but and no one cares. I know.
But you care. I get it.
I know. It's that.
Hayao Miyazaki
thing.
has a really amazing quote, and this is like the harshest thing that I can imagine because he's a genius. But he said something about like every project I make is the only, and I'm misquoting or paraphrasing. My Japanese isn't as amazing, but every project I make or anything I make is the only antidote to the curse or the poison of the thing I just did. I'm like, Jesus, you make like Spirited Away, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
like what?
Yeah.
That's insane. But I understand what he's getting at, which is like, you have to keep going, and that's the nice thing about theater. Tuesday you didn't feel so great. You have your Wednesday, you have your Thursday, you have your Friday. So,
but it doesn't matter. Like Conrad Ricamora always, who plays Abraham Lincoln, is like, I remember we were rehearsing, and Sam Pinkleton, the director, was like, "Does that feel okay?" And he's like, "It doesn't matter how it feels as long as it's like getting the." And it's true.
That's the thing.
Doesn't matter.
That's
how
what
I
mean
feel.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the play's the thing, and it's no matter how I feel about it.
Yeah.
The show and the feeling that people have will always be so much stronger and way more important.
Yes.
Such that it absolves, my ego is absolved.
Yeah.
Me and my 3 other co-stars, it's like we're lifted from the worry of it. Like again, I don't envy people where it's just them, all about them.
Yeah.
When you share it with other people and the play is this thing that is so much bigger than you.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, great. Like the boss here, my master commander, is the show, and that is very nice for that. So he first of all, Steven Spielberg came to the show.
Darren, please.
Sorry, this is a family show. But he showed up and spent 2 hours of his life. We had an active participation of his time and attention.
He was on his phone the whole time, I heard.
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But you see him right there, and just someone who you've been an avid audience member of your whole life, suddenly to have them be yours is
It reminds me of this
bewilderingly exciting. I'm losing my way with words.
This clip of Nancy Silverton makes this dessert for Julia Child.
Oh, and she cries.
And Julia Child cries.
I love that clip.
Yeah, me too. And I'm like, what? Because watching it, I'm like, oh, it must feel so good to be Nancy Silverton, like making Julia Child cry, like with how delicious your dessert is.
Yeah.
Like that, I get like a sliver of that feeling when someone that I admire comes to see.
Well, it's
Oh,
because
Mary.
it's less about like, oh my God, this person is who
No,
they
it's like
are.
you gave me so
this
much,
thing,
and I want to give a
it
little
back.
something back to you.
Amen. That's exactly
it's
how I
less
feel.
like, look what famous person came by today.
Yes, I agree. And just knowing that, like, look, they took time out of their day. It was Passover weekend. He's in the middle of shooting a thing. He came like that. He doesn't need to come back and say hi. Just like being there is so incredible, and that's why theater is so amazing to me. Is that if you make something, it's in the can. It goes. You're not there with the people who are experiencing, but the fact I was there with him, getting to share this thing, and like you said, the giving back. And like, cause how will I ever get to truly thank or honor somebody like that?
Yeah.
The many people in my life.
Who gets to do that?
Right.
Like
exactly.
all the people he touched or touches, like who gets to give him back something in that way?
That's
but you got to do that.
That's how I feel. With a lot of the artists that have come through, Tony and Mark and Tim Rice, that was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Man, it's like his body work is so part of the way I think about and consume lyrics and lyricism. And that stuff is really, really, really special. And I think people, again, I hate to cheapen the idea of people of renown coming with the glamour of it. It really is the heart song return on the investment that you and belief you put in them to give you something, and it's that giving back. I mean, hey man, I feel the same way about one called Escola. You know, seeing something that I really thought was amazing and getting to have you in the audience. And getting to do this. Like this has been exciting for me, like all weekend. I can't believe
such a nerd.
It's true. It's lovely. I'm so thrilled. And like
Thanks,
the way I
Darren.
feel about your current success is the way that I feel about maybe Happy Ending, which is there's this thing that I think is beautiful and special. And that's enough for me. I don't need other people to co-sign on this. But if they do, it's nice and it's encouraging, because then you go, I'm not fucking crazy, right? Yes, this is special a little bit. You have to be just a dash.
Yeah.
Just delusional enough.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel, and I'm just so thrilled for everything that's happening. And
Well, likewise, idiot.
Thanks,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, put it there. Put it there, pal.
Nice to meet you. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for coming
Thanks for coming on my show.